Oh, okay. The meeting's being recorded. Is that okay, everybody?
Yes.
Suzanne,
Okay, cool.
Suzanne is on mute and she's trying to say something, but we don't know what.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying if anyone disagrees, they have to, you have to look at this. I guess they could raise their hand if you disagree.
Okay. Does anybody disagree with the recording? Was that you, Rachel, who started recording?
I did.
Okay, cool. So the whole meeting is being recorded today, okay? All right, let's move on to the educational minute with our VP of Education, Rachel Garcia.
All right. Hello, good morning. I'm going to share my screen very quickly and show you how to log on to our lovely meetings in the morning. So we found on the agenda that there was a spot that says meeting venue. I was able to put the meeting ID for Zoom in there, and the passcode is the VSTM. And then right underneath that, there's a meeting URL, and you could just click it. I fixed it last time we did it. It had a little, I had copied and pasted them together. Now you just hit that link, and Joao will let you in. So thank you very much. If anybody has any questions about logging on to our meeting, please give me a call. Back to you, Joao.
All right, thank you, Rachel. We'll now have the invocation with Mark Moore, Toastmaster Mark Moore. You have the floor for your invocation.
Susie.
Morning, fellow Toastmasters. It's a pleasure to be here with you. This morning, the invocation regards not being fearful. That when we are on our adventures, life is full of adventures. We all know that, especially these past 2 years. Life has been full of the unknowns. The good thing is we do have the outdoors. We do have all the things that we can do in nature, and we can jump through all the hoops in life, all the struggles. And that's okay. I myself was faced with a teacher opportunity, long-term substitute opportunity, physical education, teaching high schoolers. And let me say something. This has been the hardest, one of the hardest positions of substitute teaching I've ever faced. But it's been good. It's taught me a lot. And the Bible verse I want to share with you this morning for some encouragement on not being fearful comes from Isaiah chapter 12, verse 2. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and I will not be afraid. For the Lord God is my strength and my might. He has become my salvation. So whatever we face in our adventures, I challenge you to not be afraid, to take it as it comes, one step at a time, one day at a time, and that nothing will be able to stop you. You can go through anything and everything if you put your mind to it. May you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, our meeting today will be like all the other meetings. There will be 3 segments. The first segment are the prepared speeches in which speakers talk on any subject following the objectives of their pathways. The second segment is the most exciting one, the table topics. And today our table topics will be around the theme of adventure. We're all looking forward to it. And the third segment is the most important one, which are the evaluations. That's when our fellow Toastmasters, we receive feedback, invaluable and helpful and supportive feedback from our fellow Toastmasters. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the different roles, the monitors and the different roles for today. Our grammarian and counter is Toastmaster Suzanne Bertain. Can you talk a little bit about your role, Suzanne?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My role as grammarian and not counter is I will be listening to all of the speakers, presenters, anyone who says anything. If you utter any word, I will be listening for extra words that we sometimes add into our conversation. Ums, ahs, you knows, and I will let you know later when I'm called upon to report those, how many of those lovely words you use. I will also listen for who uses our word of the day. Well, with our theme of adventure, we chose the word of the day, intrepid. It's an adjective, and intrepid means fearless, adventurous, with fortitude and endurance. So if you can use the adjective intrepid during your table topics with Neviana, I will listen for that and give you a little point. And I will type this in the chat as well. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian, Suzanne Bertain. Our timer today is our former president, Toastmaster Steve Hornstein.
Good morning. I will be your timer for today. And one of the skills that we learn in Toastmasters is to complete our speech within a certain time frame, because in the real world, we will have limited time sometimes to give our speech. So I will be holding up a green, something that's green by the time when you reach your minimum time. And I will be holding up something yellow when you are getting close to the end and it's time to start wrapping up. The yellow will come up 30 seconds before the end with table topics, and for the general evaluator. For the speech, it will be 1 minute before the end. And then when you get to the red, that means you got 30 seconds left and it's time to finish up. You got 30 seconds when you see the red to end, or you will be out, you'll be eliminated. And that is how the timer works.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like now to call our vote counter, which is our most recent addition to the club, Toastmaster Laura Zornes. She will be our vote counter today. Could you please explain a little bit of your role, Laura? And what
Yes, hi. Good morning. I will be counting the votes after the speeches and actually now just after the table topics to see who wins the table topics.
Thank you, Laura. We appreciate you being here with us and joining us. We're very happy. Our general evaluator is the fantastic Toastmaster E.P McKnight. E.P, can you please explain your role a little bit?
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our distinguished guest. As your general evaluator, I will be sharing tips of how we can improve on our meetings and things that we've done well. And I also will be introducing our evaluator first and then the evaluation tips secondly. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. So I was told not to introduce a table topics master because it's not exactly a role, but all the scripts I have, they do introduce a table topics master. So I think it's up to us to choose if I should introduce the table topics master now or not.
You should.
Our own script. So I think we should.
Yes.
Our table topics master of the day is the beautiful and talented Toastmaster Neviana Tzvetkova. I looked online how to pronounce that, but I don't think I did a very good job. Tzvetkova.
No, great pronunciation. Thanks so much, Mr. Toastmaster. Greetings, everyone. Greetings from Bulgaria. I have intrepidly chosen the topic of our meeting, the discussion for table topics today, to be adventure, because I believe that life is an adventure and we boldly go through it, and I would like to know more about each one of you. So I will be giving you questions to help you improve your impromptu skills. And within 1 to 2 minutes, you will be able to talk about your adventure. Hopefully, I will have at least 4 questions for people to say. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Great, thank you. We have plenty of time today because we only have one speaker, one prepared speech, and that's the session we're moving into right now. Let's start our prepared speeches segment. Our first speaker will be speaking from the team collaboration pathways. Our first and only speaker will be speaking from the team collaboration pathways. Giving her speech her icebreaker speech, which is 4 to 6 minutes. And the title of the speech is Serena, the Artist. And here goes the introduction. Have you ever had a part of you that you barely let show? Because for some reason, you never felt comfortable with that part of yourself. Our next speaker has never wanted to call herself an artist, but realizes that, as Degas, the painter, said, art is not what you see, but what you make others see. Therefore, it can be a wide range of things. Here to share a side of her that rarely sees the light of the day, please welcome Serena McCullough, DTM, with her speech, Serena, the Artist. Serena, you have the floor.
There are definitely times in our lives where we have a part that we don't like people to see. Maybe we don't think we're good at it, or we can call ourselves that thing. In my family, I was literally surrounded by artists, actors, painters, drawers, even a little bit of singing. And I never really felt like I compare. But this is my personal adventure that I will be sharing with you. I like to first start with a quote that I think sums up my entire adventure. This quote is by Alfred North Whitehead, and it says, "Art flourishes where there is a sense of adventure." And I like this quote for two reasons. One, because this gentleman is not anybody you would ever heard. Has anybody heard of this guy? I don't see any hands. He's not as famous as Monet. He's not a Renaissance painter. In fact, he's not actually an artist. He is an English mathematician and a philosopher, not somebody you would normally think that would have anything to do with art. But I think the fact that he's reflecting on art in this way gives us a sense of what you need. You have to embrace the crazy adventure of doing something uncomfortable and different. And that's exactly what it was for me. And I also love the fact that he highlights that art is an adventure, not just externally, like Degas said, about creating effects on others, but it's also an internal adventure of one's own reflection. When I first started, these are the photos that I took. And believe it or not, I thought these were the best thing ever. But then maybe after looking at it, staring at it, showing my sister, you know how siblings can be. She was a real photographer. She had a full-on Canon camera. I was taking these on some old point and shoot. And clearly, there are a few things wrong with these. Not the least of which is the most obvious, the lighting. I really thought, okay, I can do this. I can be a photographer. But after failing so many times, you kind of give up and think, I need to maybe try something else. If I'm going to go down this path, if I think maybe there's something in me, I should try something a little different. So I did other artistic things. They made me feel very uncomfortable. I was in several plays. The one in the middle, I was supposed to be a grumpy old lady. So that picture perfectly sums up grumpy old lady, right? But I wasn't really being me because I love photography. I didn't want to be in front of the camera. I wanted to be behind it. And I even branched out into mixed media. Has anybody ever heard of that? Maybe? Okay. Mixed media is what you see on the right. You can see it. You have all sorts of glue and paint and things that you stick on. But to me, it looked like the toilet seat I saw in a museum once. Literally, a toilet seat. How is that art? So I kind of played around with it, but I don't feel like it reflected any meaning. I didn't feel like it showed people what was inside. So eventually I did go back to embracing photography. And I put hours, I took classes, I got advice from professional photographers and produced these. I feel like they are more of a reflection of what is inside of me and the world around me. Plus, I had incredible opportunities to travel the world. Now, this is just one of my favorites because I don't have time to show you all. But I realized something. I stopped practicing at some point what it meant for me to reflect the world around me and to show who I was as an artist. And when you stop practicing something, you do lose it just a little bit. So what happened is, yeah, I still took photos once in a while, but the lighting was gorgeous. The setup was perfect. There was emphasis on every single line. The clarity is amazing. And then I ended up basically taking photos like this. So this is a little interesting. The lighting is not the best. The clarity isn't there. It's just not like what I used to be able to take. And it really comes down to practicing. It comes down to learning. It comes down to being willing to go outside your comfort zone to try new things. Not just the same old thing you always do, the same framing, the same advice, but really embracing the adventure within. Because as Degas said, art is not what you see, it's what you make others see. For us as artists, I would like to think we all are, because we show people things that they don't normally see. Just like we do when we give a speech, when we share a viewpoint, when we have passion for something. And it is important, the mark that you make on the world. And that is what I encourage everybody to do. If you don't think that you can do something, or you might have been missing that sense of adventure in your life, an external adventure awaits if you embrace a side of yourself you haven't seen in a while. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Serena. That was a beautiful speech.
Bravo. That was really good.
Inspiring, yes. Very engaging. All right, I'm gonna give everybody a minute to send your comments to Serena on private chat, okay? And then privately to her. Okay, I think we can move on. This way we have more time for table topics as well. All right, we move on now to the next segment of our day, which is, I have all these papers in front of me. Oh, actually, I need to get the timers report for Serena, please.
Serena was just slightly over the time at 6 minutes and 43.9 seconds. So it was 13.9 seconds over the 30 seconds. Oh, but you're allotted 30 seconds after the end, and she went 43.9 seconds over.
Okay, so what is the conclusion of that, since there's no other speakers today?
Still the best one, right? She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's
That it was a
best
great
still a
speaker
winner.
speech, right?
She's still a winner for showing up and for delivering this beautiful, vulnerable
A
speech.
great speech.
Yeah, thank you, Serena. All right, so there should be the voting now, but since there are no competitors this morning, we'll move on straight to the table topics. The second segment is now my pleasure to have you meet, or not meet because she has already introduced herself, but our table topics master, Toastmasters, is Neviana. You have the floor, Neviana.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Serena, for saying such a great speech and connecting art with adventure. Actually, adventure in Wikipedia states that it is an exciting experience that is undertaken and that is typically bold, sometimes risky. I would say that adventure is anything outside of one's comfort zone. It could be for people that are afraid to go out, could be just stepping out of the door. For me, adventure, probably one of the biggest adventures was coming to the States to study. And later starting to sing and become an artist at the age of 33, when I felt ready, when I gave birth to my son. And now one adventure is being here, part of Valley Stars Toastmaster. So I have a few questions for you, and I hope that they intrigue and inspire you. So the first one, let's see, who wants to be the first? Is there? Yeah, Rachel. Yes. So, Rachel, as I said, some people visit foreign countries, others bungee jump, yet others swim with sharks. Please describe your most amazing adventure you've ever had.
Ooh, that's a good one. Most amazing? I think what is intrepid? Let's see. My most intrepid, adventurous, gosh, probably when I went to Europe with my Art Institute class. We went on a wine and food tour because we were chefs. We were in culinary arts. I know it's a totally different path. I've had a lot of different paths. I'm definitely intrepid. As I turned 40, I decided to just experience what I really want to be when I grow up. So that trip with my fellow classmates was just really fun and adventurous. And we went to we were in Madrid, and we went to Portugal, and just the food. We drank so much wine, I couldn't even tell you the food, but it was so good. It was very amazing. And yeah, we were all over the place. It was an adventure with culture, trying to communicate with the people in Portugal, because we have broken Spanish. I have broken Spanish. You can't even speak broken Spanish because it's Portuguese, right? So, I mean, I was sitting there going, oh, how are we going to, order food? How are we going to do this and that? I mean, luckily there was always some American or somebody that spoke, American that could help us. But we were very adventurous and very, that was just a fun trip. So my whole life after I turned 40, after Adam passed away, I think that I just really was trying to figure out who I am and who I want to be. And it's been fun. That's it. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. You are intrepid and adventurous. Thank you for sharing your traveling to Europe. I hope next time you come over, you visit the oldest country in Europe, Bulgaria. And thank you. Amy, do you want to say something? Do you want to answer the next question? You can turn on your microphone.
You're on mute, Amy.
Yay, Amy. Unmute.
The little microphone.
You can also keep your hand on the space bar. Oh,
yes. Push the space bar and just hold it.
While we're waiting for her, I want to thank her for a great haircut that she gave me when I was in the States last year.
Oh.
Oh.
Come on, Amy, you can do it.
You can do it.
I got it.
Oh, there you are. You got it.
All right. So I just the first question. Is that first question? That's what I want to do. First question.
If you want to answer, I will give you a new question.
Oh no, I thought of adventure. First adventure. Okay, go ahead, Owen.
The second question I have prepared is, if time travel was possible, what adventure would you go for and why?
Oh, I see. You know what? I still want to American all over this state. I like to go to all over the place because I was in states, California, or 51 years ago, I come here by myself with my friend for study. Then here I am. But I haven't really go to any place except to New York and Nebraska. So I like to go to, if I want to do, I more travel all over the United States and see how big United States and how blessed we are. So, and then let me see. I went to France, Spain, but then I think I still like America travel, and because I haven't seen much. So, but I thought I was going to first question, that adventure. That's my question was. But anyway, and that's mine. But I was going to adventures. We're going to a lot of stories I tell you. So, but anyway, I pass now. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I love you guys. I love you guys. Yeah.
Now I have a question for Suzi Oliver. Oftentimes at Insight seminars, they talk about the longest journey. I think that's a quote, that the longest journey is from our head to our heart. Please tell me, how did that apply in your life and what lessons did you learn so far?
That's a beautiful quote. Of course, I was part of Insight probably before you were born, but aside from that, I would like to say that in my heart, my great fortune was 25 years ago when I met my husband, because I was on the verge of turning 40, and I thought, is there ever going to be somebody that I can connect with and spend the rest of my life with? And he came along just at the right time. I had lost my mother. I was in a real transition period in my life. What was I going to do? Was I going to travel the world and sing and try to do my gigs? And was I going to stay here? What did I have in front of me? So when my mother told us that after I got back from Japan in 1993, my mother said, I'm sick, but I'm gonna beat it. And she didn't. 2 years later, she passed away. I realized that my next step was finding a life partner. And I did. And it's 25 years later, and we're still really happy together. We still love each other. So I think from my head, which I made a decision, to my heart, which it all came true. And I think that's a really beautiful salute to life. And it gives me the feeling that I want to continue the adventure, continue the intrepid life that I have. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. We have time for more questions, right? Yep. Is there anybody ready for to answer the next question? Eli?
Yes.
You ready? Okay, so the next question, I'm getting a great sense of you guys like this. I know they're open-ended questions, but I'm really grateful that I can know more about you. Eli, please tell us what is the adventure that you dream of?
I would like to go into space and maybe go to the moon or Mars. Many of you know my background is in physics, and I was an engineer and a scientist in my previous careers to being a financial consultant. And I think, and I watched when John Glenn took the steps on the moon, and I was really thrilled when he returned to space at a much older age. So perhaps there's hope for us older citizens that we can achieve what I think would be an unbelievably rewarding adventure, to go into space, to experience what the other space explorers have experienced, as far as everything that you do when you're weightless is completely different than what we do on this earth. And I would also never forget, looking back, and I can't see the timer, so I'm going to change my view. I'm looking back and seeing our glorious Earth from space. I have seen a portion of it from the air, both in a little plane and a big plane. And I think it would be unbelievable to see it from, 20, 30,000 miles out in space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have time for one more question? Yes. Okay. The
Yes,
for
we
the
do have time.
topics today would be, since adventure is stepping outside of our comfort zone, what adventure do you think that humanity should take next? And AP, you ready?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. What adventure should humanity take on today? Intrepidly, I would advise them, and some of you may not like this, but hey, it is what it is. Get vaccinated and stop all this stuff so we can get past this old normal to a new type of normal. Because unless we all decide to live together as human beings, we all are going to die as fools. We have really got to be adventurous and know that science does make mistakes. But hey, when I took the injections for the mumps and the measles, my parents didn't know what was in that either. But I'm still here, and most of you who took it, you're still here too. So for humanity, I want everybody to be adventurous and just trust God that things are going to work out for the better, but we got to work together as human beings, as God created the universe for all of us to share and partake and not to destroy. And right now, we are doing that in the wrong way. I want people to be adventurous and try a little love and peace and harmony. I'm passionate about this because I'm not teaching in school now. I see the banana. I'm not teaching in school now because the kids are getting COVID. The kids are getting Delta. The kids are getting stuff. And there's 20-something kids in the classroom, and I don't want to be exposed to all that. I love life. I love adventure. So that would be my answer. I hated that so. I'm so sorry. Ooh. Anyway, back to you, Madam Topic Master.
Thank you so much, everyone. What wonderful, intrepid participants we have in the table topics today. I give the lantern back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Hey, Madam Toastmaster, can I add in one thing? I just was the last one. I didn't add adventure. You know what? Since I know God, I want to carry the gospel of good news all over the world. That's my adventure. Second, this is my biggest desire, second adventure, because I have experience with the love of God. I want to share everybody, whole world, especially this day. So many things going on. That's my adventure. Thank you, Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. I think we're supposed to have the votes now, right, for the table topics? That would be the next
timers.
step.
Timers
Oh,
report,
the timers, yeah, which the table topics master should actually call for the timers report.
Correct.
So the timers report, please, for the table topics.
Everybody was within time. Rachel was 140, Amy 108, Susie 138, Eli 126, and EP 208. I was happy to hold up my tomatoes. I only got a chance to do that with EP, and everybody was within time. And keep in mind that the timer starts when you utter your first word or your first sound or first movement that is part of the speech. Keep that in mind.
So keep still until you start speaking.
Right.
Okay, so everybody, please cast your votes on a private message to Laura Zornes, and you can also take the time to send a message to any of the table topic speaker, a message of encouragement if you would like so. So a few seconds for the message and for the vote.
Master, can you repeat the names of the 5 speakers?
I will ask Madam Table Topics Master to repeat the names, please.
Sure. First, Rachel, then Suzi Oliver,
Amy.
Amy Cornwall, E.P McKnight, and Eli Sunk.
Okay, we'll now move into the third and final segment of our call today, the evaluation segment. I'd like to introduce the conductor of that segment, our general evaluator, Toastmaster E.P McKnight. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm honored to introduce our evaluator of our speaker of today, Rachel Garcia.
It's Eli. It's
Oh,
going to be
Eli,
great.
you guys switched it because
Yes, yeah,
number 2.
yes.
I stand corrected. I will now be honored to introduce our evaluator for our speaker, Eli Sunk, the one and only.
We're all one and only. Thank you, General Evaluator and Madam Toastmaster. No, actually, Sir Toastmaster. Serena, the artist. You know, it's a kind of interesting that we give icebreakers, even though we're distinguished Toastmasters. But I will evaluate it as though it was her first speech. It was a totally interesting speech, and I enjoy these icebreakers because we get to know people a little bit differently than we would in normal circumstances. Like if we meet over coffee, we wouldn't discuss the fact that, for instance, Serena had pursued a career as an artist because I think of the peer pressures. How did she do? She excelled at storytelling. She also mastered the techniques of presenting a speech through a slideshow while still maintaining, although I had to get to the split screen, good facial expressions throughout. She also fully engaged the audience in her journey through life and her attempts at various forms of being an artist. As far as the individual characteristics that we judge speakers, her clarity was exemplary. She was always understandable. She did use vocal variety and pacing, although I would challenge her to add a little more emotion. For instance, when she talked about the lighting, she might say, the lighting here, oh, wow, that was really bad. As opposed to the lighting was bad. I didn't feel there was as much emotion as the pictures actually displayed. Eye contact. It's very difficult when you're doing a slideshow to also maintain eye contact. As I said, I had to go to the split screen before I could see that she was contacting each and every person I imagined that she was seeing on her split screen. Gestures, not applicable in this speech. Audience awareness. She's fully aware of the audience engagement and asked several questions throughout her speech that induced responses from the audience. Comfort level. Well, that's apparent. She is completely self-assured in being in front of an audience. She also, as I said earlier, fully engaged the audience with exemplary, well-constructed content. The challenge that I see is how do you add gestures to this type of speech? And I also want to know, how did that cat change colors? Thank you, Serena, for an excellent icebreaker speech.
Thank you, Evaluator Toastmaster Eli Sunk. Now, as your general evaluator, I'm just going to give a few thoughts on what I felt about the meeting. Overall, I thought everything went really, really wonderful. We started like 1 or 2 minutes late, but that's not a big deal. Eli, great evaluation, great tips. And what I love about evaluators is that they not only teach the speaker, but they also teach us in their evaluation. And I love how you encouraged her and you found moments of questions that she can expound on later. And that's what growth is all about. Table topics are very thought-provoking, very informative, and they were fun. And that's what table topics is all about. All this is about fun and growth at the same time. The timer, very creative. I love those veggies. They made me hungry. Very creative. I love that. I want to commend the new members for stepping up to the plate and doing such wonderful jobs. That's commendable, and that's what it's all about. Being in an atmosphere where you take that leap, you take that chance. So I commend the new members who have really stepped up, and you know who you are. Great job. Participation, everyone is on one accord, as I called it. I love the word of the day. Most of the people use it, and what it does, the word of the day encourages you in your life after this. So that's really wonderful to have that word of the day. Intrepid and adventurous. And Mark, I don't think he's here now, but I love the motivational, having that moment at the very beginning, because the way you start is the way you end up. So that motivational moment kind of sets the tone where we are going to be. It sets the aroma, so to speak, of the day. So overall, I thought it was a great meeting. Our Toastmaster did a fantastic job. Everyone participation, wonderful, wonderful. I have nothing bad to say. Let's just keep being, keep doing, keep participating. And thank God that we have this opportunity. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster EP. By the way, can we get the timers report for Eli, please?
Yes, timers report for Eli. He was 3 minutes and 23 seconds, and 7 seconds to spare. Perfect.
On the dot. All right, thank you. I now like to call our grammarian, Suzanne Bertain, Toastmaster Suzanne Bertain, for the counter report, the grammarian counter report.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and thank you, Madam General Evaluator. For the grammarian's report, I didn't hear, I guess because he was mostly visual, the timer didn't say much, didn't hear any ums or ahs from Steve. From Joao, I only heard 2 ahs and 1 so. And the word of the day was used by Mr. Toastmaster. From Diva, 2 ums, 1 ah, and she used the word of the day several times in her table topics. Rachel, 2 ums, 1 ah, and 1 gonna instead of going to. And she used the word of the day in her table topics answer. Laura, I didn't hear anything. Any ums or ahs? Excellent for our brand new member. Congratulations. Suzi Oliver, only 1 ah and a gonna instead of going to, and that was in her table topic. She used the word of the day, intrepid. EP used the word of the day, intrepid. No ums or ahs, Madam General Evaluator. Eli, no ums or ahs, and Amy, I didn't hear any ums or ahs either. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ms. Grammarian. All right, we now go to the vote counting, the exciting part of the meeting. Okay, let's hear from our vote counter, Toastmaster Suzanne Laura Zornes.
Drum roll.
Thank you. Great table topics, everyone. It was really good answers. Let's see. The winner of the table topics was Suzi.
All right.
Good job, Suzi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Laura Zornes. Well, I guess now I give the floor back to our acting president, Madam Toastmaster Rachel Garcia.
All right. Thank you, Joao. We do have a little bit of club business